Now, I don't know if you've noticed lately, even this past week, how our world is changing actually so quickly. Its political and economic balance is shifting in front of our eyes. You must have seen how the new tariffs which the US has imposed on the countries of the world brought this planet to be shaken. And have you seen how so many countries reacted in one voice? Italy, Spain, France, Poland, China, Japan, and on, even the Fiji Islands reacted to this imposition of US tariffs. In all, some 182 countries around the world, that's, by the way, almost all of them. I did not realize how influential the US was. However, it seems that now this move is creating a void in world leadership, as these tariffs actually provoked confusion, anger, threats, and countermeasures. China, the second world economic power after the US, spoke of retaliating with a 34% tariffs on all US goods. That's not good news, by the way. At this news, the stock market also fell to a major sellout yesterday. Europe is also preparing to strike back, and so are other countries. Are we witnessing uncertainty in this new world war of economic trade? By the way, our observation today is not to weigh out the good or the bad concerning the tariffs, but to observe a switch that is occurring in the world concerning leadership and who is united with whom. Note as well that along with the tariffs, the US also stopped much of its charity to the world, and this also has brought a great impact, or was a great impact on the planet. Since President John F. Kennedy established the US Aid Agency in 1961. This became a household name in many countries, and every year helped millions of people around the world. Just in 2024, the US spent more $10 billion on health aid around the world. However, very much of this has ended. So the world is experiencing a major change, and the tariffs are one of a series of action taken by the US which triggered much movement around. That may have some strong connection actually with the movement of prophecies. There is one thing one can clearly see is that for weeks these actions have led toward a greater unification of Europe. Already a few weeks ago, on March the 1st, since the US has announced these tariffs, Europe Foreign Policy Minister Kaja Kallas said, "Today it became clear for the free world that it needs a new leader. It's up to us, Europeans, to take this challenge." They are trying to fill a void of leadership. Then on March the 19th, the 27 countries of Europe leaders met with the theme, "Securing Our Future." They aim to build a strong military that will protect them from Russia, because they lost their help from the US. In their own words, they want to transform Europe in a military superpower. This is what they want to do. So there's Russia and Europe at odds with each other, and also the king of the East, which is China over there. Just like the prophecies of Daniel and of John and Ezekiel tell us, they will be at the end. It's starting to look like what the prophecies are saying. In his prophecy of the end time, Daniel sees the last world power, or empire if you want, the Roman Empire rising from the same place it collapsed, that is Europe. And since the end of World War II, we have seen Europe coming together, and today, with these last events, it is forced to be even more united. Let us remember these prophecies which have not yet taken place and which involve the whole of Europe before Yeshua comes back. The prophecy of Daniel in his chapter 2 and chapter 7 sees a federation of states joining into one empire. Both he and John in Revelation 13 sees this empire and a political leader of empire rising actually from there. This will trigger the start of the tribulation. Daniel sees him as the willful king of fierce countenance, Daniel chapter 11, chapter 8. Paul calls him the man of sin. John calls him the Antichrist. And both John and Daniel sees him and his empire actually rising out of the sea. The known sea of the time was the Mediterranean Sea, which is at the shores of Europe. Is this what the tariffs will succeed in bringing about? But there is yet another phenomenon that has been in the making for a while, is that Europe has been more and more siding with Israel. Even those European parties of the right, who were a few years ago actually anti-Semitic, such as those in Germany and in France, are today showing more positive connection to Israel. One of their leaders, if you watch the actually European news, Jordan Bordella, even went to Israel to speak against anti-Semitism, something that surprised many European and Israelis. This change comes because of the radical Islamists in Europe. Their virulent and threatening demands are contributing to Europe's want to gather together to fight terrorism. Where are the Americas in all this? Many Bible scholars have seen the Americas as part of Europe, since it was originally mainly built by Europeans. But these last events show us that the US is taking a step back from the leadership it has had since World War II. So far, we cannot be sure and make any definite conclusions, but we can see how our world is actually changing in the direction of what the prophets predicted. The next year or months or even weeks promise to be very revealing. Again, we cannot affirm much for now. One thing we see is that the changes seems to occur at a faster pace, that is, and with greater intensity. As Yeshua said in his prophecies in Matthew 24, you will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars, but all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. While always growing in intensity and power in the prophetic context, birth pangs cannot last for a long time. For now, one thing we can do in view of these rapid changes is what? Get close to the Word of God. Study, pray, speak out, and keep our eyes open for His soon coming, actually.